And when the president returns to Washington, he'll have to focus on the economy and the looming fiscal cliff. Wall Street is already focused on those talks. The CEO of Goldman Sachs, Lloyd Blankfein, told CBS Evening News anchor Scott Pelley that a budget deal could be a challenge to average Americans.
You're going to have to undoubtedly do something to lower people's expectations, the entitlements, and what people think that they're going to get, because they're not going to get it.
Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid?
Some things. And, you could go back and you can look at the history of these things. And Social Security wasn't devised to be a system that supported you for a 30-year retirement after a 25-year career. So there'll be certain things that, the retirement age has to be changed. Maybe some of the benefits have to be affected. Maybe some of the inflation adjustments have to be revised. But in general, entitlements have to be slowed down and contained.
Because we can't afford them going forward?
Because we can't afford them.
With us now, National Journal White House correspondent Major Garrett. Good morning, and congratulations as well, and welcome to CBS. Let me ask you, there's some indication of some progress on this. What progress have they made?
Well, first of all, they're talking and exploring ideas. Right now this week on Capitol Hill, it's sort of like you would prepare for a Thanksgiving meal. The staff on the Senate Finance Committee, Budget Committee on the House, Ways and Means, are preparing a recipe. All the various options, all the things you can cut, all the things you can tax, what are the numbers behind them, how do they add up in various different ways to put together a deal. So the data will all be the same for everyone to look at once the lawmakers, the decision makers, re-engage after the Thanksgiving holiday. So it's sort of like everyone's in the kitchen looking at their recipes, but we have the cooks to wait for to decide what the meal is going to look like.
Well, it's an interesting metaphor to use, Major, because a lot of people can get recipes anywhere.
Exactly.
But a lot of people can't cook very well.
Precisely.
And so that's really the concern. What ends up in this final meal, if you will, on the fiscal cliff? How are they going to do this? I mean, I hear this thing about they're going to do it in two different tranches.
Right. There's a theory about a two-stage process where you take care of the middle-class tax cuts under the Bush tax code, passed in 2001.
So
that
everyone
solves
under 250,000 would
held
not
harmless, no tax increase there. That's the politically popular thing to do. Then you take that and maybe you throw in the debt ceiling there, but then you have the other issues, the defense spending cuts, the domestic discretionary cuts, entitlement reforms, tax reform, and you put that off to later next year. That's the idea of having a bridge over the cliff to something that's a bigger resolution. That's one way of doing it. But I will tell you this. You'll never get more attentiveness, more public hysteria than you will get in December. And you'll never get a time when there'll be more ability to increase that sort of sense of fear and panic than cut a deal and have everyone celebrate the fact that we didn't have to go over the cliff. So if you're a politician who wants to generate a sense of unease and then capitalize on it, now's the time to cut the deal. One other thing is, every other interest group in this town, if you wait 6 months, we'll have 6 months to pick that deal apart.
Yep.
And if you do a big deal now, you can do it before they can mobilize against you. That's another political incentive to act now and act bigger now than later.
Charlie?
Major, are there different mindsets today than there were in previous times that they had a debt ceiling negotiation? More inclined to want to make concessions, more inclined to want to reach out to the other side, more inclined to want to reach out to business and labor leaders?
Well, look, business has been contacting the president. Rahm Emanuel, mayor of Chicago, former chief of staff, has been a very helpful interlocutor in the business community to deal with the White House on this, to improve those sort of torn relationships from the first term. Labor and progressives are telling the president, look, you don't have to go down the Lloyd Blankfein road on entitlements. We can do this a different way. Whether the president believes that or not is unclear. However, the president's polling firm for a third way group here in Washington, which is a moderate Democrat group, came up with polling data that was released just this morning that shows a majority of the president's coalition is open to the concept, at least theoretically, of entitlement reforms that would make them less generous. So the president has that polling data from his own pollster for re-election telling him there might be a pathway there. So I think everyone is exploring every option, looking at the set of recipe options. What it's going to require is what it's always required. People willing to take tough votes, look at each other, and trust each other.
Maybe there will be a spirit of giving on both sides this holiday season. We'll see. Major Garrett, thank you so much.